Testing, testing, testing. All right, let me know if you can hear us. I don't have very good, my meter doesn't look too good. We're trying a little something new, trying to getting a little probably too complicated for for our own good. Can you hear us now? That looks awfully low, the meter. I know we're on a delay, so I'm waiting to hear. Not Mo. That's supposed to be now. Hello, hello, hello. All right, Deep South says we're looking good. Thanks. Appreciate that. So, hey, everybody.
Howdy.
Welcome to Alderman Farms Live. We've got several clips of our previous week queued up, and so we're using Wirecast now for our streaming software, and it's a little bit more complicated. It's probably not, but when you learn using OBS and then you have to switch, certain things are very intuitive in OBS that aren't very intuitive in Wirecast. Some things are simpler in Wirecast than they were in OBS, so hang on with us. I've got several sound sources. I'm trying to make sure the right ones are gone, and oh my goodness, but we'll get there. All right.
And I don't have a clue what he's talking about, so I'm just waiting until he tells me to talk.
Patti has got to spend some time learning how to do this. So
I have you, baby.
Yeah. Well, we've had a good couple of weeks.
Yes.
Let me see. I need to learn. This is one thing I need to learn how to do to get rid of. We had a good couple of weeks. Lots of folks really enjoyed Patti's sourdough bread making series. I think it went over well.
Yeah, I think everybody was, and I feel like it accomplished what I really wanted to accomplish. That I wanted people to be able to see, and almost feel like they could feel what I was talking about the dough. The elasticity of the dough. How do you explain that without showing somebody? And so I was really pleased that we were able to do that, and I think people really got it.
Yeah, I think they did, and I haven't told Patti this yet, but I think we probably need to redo it because eventually maybe start from scratch, because the first, let's see, there were 10 videos. It was 8 days, 10 videos, and the first 6 days or something like that, we were using OBS, so we had that bad problem with the audio and video not syncing properly. And now that we've got the Wirecast up and running, we think, anyway, you can tell us in the comments that we think the audio and the video is now synced properly.
Well, what we've seen has been, anyway.
Yeah.
Hopefully tonight's the same way.
Yeah, we were told, because Mike and Tara over at Living on a Dime had been using Wirecast for a while, and I noticed that their syncing was always spot on, and they said once they moved over to Wirecast, it was perfect. So,
yeah.
But anyway, we're just rambling on. We told you, I posted a video a couple of days ago and said we would spend the first part of this show answering any pressing sourdough bread questions. And we ask you to email those questions to us at bread@aldermanfarms.net. And we did get some questions, so I'm going to turn it over to Patti, and she's going to answer the questions that we got via email.
Yeah. And Callie asked me this. She said she's mixing by hand, and when she tests the elasticity of the dough after all the flour is added, and she is kneading it, it tears instead of stretching. Does that mean it needs more kneading? It can mean it needs more kneading, but you may be adding the flour too fast. Maybe try adding it a little bit slower. And also, sometimes you may not need all of the flour. So that's just another thing you've got to watch. If it's dry right now where you're at, it may be that you don't need quite the amount of flour that the recipe calls for. So anywhere within a half a cup less, half a cup more, you're going to be okay with the recipe. And I believe, she said, will it ever get the same elasticity as in like mixing with the stand mixer? And I think yes, because it takes a little longer, of course, to mix by hand. or to knead it by hand. But I think, yes, you will get the same good elasticity as the stand mixer. And also, she makes a comment. She said, "Who needs a gym membership when you knead bread?" So, and that's the truth, because one video that I did when I was making the 24 loaves or 12 loaves for the farmers market, you can hear me huffing and puffing because it's an upper body workout. So
yeah, you do that enough,
true.
you end up with forearms that look like Popeye the Sailor Man.
Yeah, the same with milking. You know, you get that good muscle. Anyway, next question, she says, is with the overnight rise. Do you have to use saran wrap, or can she use the plastic lid that came with her large Rubbermaid plastic bowl? And by all means, use the lid. It's just, you need a good covering. It doesn't have to be like 100% airtight. The saran wrap, it doesn't stick, 100% airtight, and so it's not. You do want it to be protected from the air mostly, but it doesn't have to be 100% airtight, which the lid probably is pretty airtight. And so, yes, by all means, use the lid. And she also mentioned she forgot to add salt to her first batch, and so she's remaking it. And I got to tell you, I have done that before. I have forgotten the salt, I have forgotten the oil, and I have realized it before, I baked it. It was like right when I was fixing to let it start rising, and I actually took the time and I mixed it back in, and it actually turned out. So anyway, so don't feel like the Lone Ranger there. I have forgotten that. And actually, when we were making, I don't remember when, it was during this year. Sometime I was recording something about sourdough, and I think it was for the farmer's market, the sourdough. I can't remember. But anyway, it was one that I add yeast to, and I think I needed 3 or 4 tablespoons of yeast, and I was talking and dumping yeast, and I thought, oh, I think that was it, and it wasn't. I was one shy, but it didn't make a difference. It still rose, but maybe not quite as high as it normally would have, so, it just happens sometimes. Here's another question. It says, I've made my first batch. How long do I need to feed my starter before I can make another batch? Well, you don't want to ever deplete your starter down to nothing, or even like less than, say, 1/4 of a cup or 1/2 a cup, because then you're going to have to go through the souring process again. So, when you make your bread, hopefully you've left yourself 1/2 a cup to a cup of starter, and then feed it, and when you get enough to make another batch of bread, make another batch of bread, because once it gets soured and it's working good, it should stay working good. So
Whenever is that all of them that you've got? Because we've got a few that have come up in here too, so just...
No, I'm not quite done, but if you wanted to ask me a couple.
Well, I wasn't quite. Everybody,
Okay, well,
several
that's
people
okay.
saying their starter smells like buttermilk.
That's probably a good sign. To me, that's kind of soured smelling. So,
Here's one. What is the shelf life of a loaf? Plus, can you freeze them?
yeah, they freeze very good. I prefer them toasted after they've been in the freezer, the bread. But the shelf life is, well, I guess it depends on what kind of flour you're using, because the fresher the flour, the quicker it's going to go bad. So I would say anywhere from 3 to 5 days that it should stay good. And then, of course, you can put it in the refrigerator. And then you always can, heat it up. Like I like it toasted. My favorite way to eat the bread is toasted with butter on it, or toasted with mayonnaise and tomato. So that's my favorite way. Let's see. This is from Jan. She says, she seems to remember me saying that the starter needs to double in size before it's really ready. But she wasn't sure. She remembered me saying that, and she wanted to verify that. She said if it's nice and sour and you have 1 inch or so of bubbles and hooch, the liquid stuff, on top, is it ready? And I would say yes, it is ready. I like to see it really active. And honestly, a good inch on top, especially if you only have about 2 to 3 inches below it, I would say that's pretty active. And so I would say yes, it's ready. I would use it. Let's see. And she also said she would love some recipes and ideas to use with the part of the sourdough starter that you discard, especially like when you're making a large batch of starter. The way we had did it on the video series, if it soured quick enough, you didn't have to throw any out because you were still dealing with smaller volumes. But I know that there is recipes out there to make pancakes and biscuits. If you'll just Google that, I have, and I'll get Tommy to post that link. I have some saved on my computer, and I don't know how to do all that stuff. But anyway, I'll get Tommy to post the link, and it's got just tons. I mean, like even gingerbread. I don't know that it's necessarily with what you're going to throw out, which I guess it could be with that, because like in gingerbread and stuff like that, you're using other mediums to raise the bread, like baking powder and baking soda and stuff like that. So I would imagine it could be used there.
You don't throw much out though, do you?
I don't, because I deal with such volume, and I'll use my yeast, and when you use the yeast in there, it sours quicker and it gets it working quicker. So I don't typically throw it out. And then when we started the einkorn, I started with such a small volume and built it that I didn't have to throw any out, and it did sour fairly quick. Which I use yeast in that too, though. I use a little bit of yeast in the einkorn. So she also wanted to know how the white starter bread turned out and taste. And texture-wise, well, I don't know, because nobody ate it. Tommy was leaving. The reason I had to finish filming that and send it to Tommy and have him put it up is because Tommy was going out of town.
Yeah.
And, I can't eat it, and Tommy was gone, so I just let it go to waste. It's going to... I still have it. I'm going to feed it to the animals, unless I can get Tommy to taste some on camera right now.
I'll taste it. Where is it? Go get it. Kitty says her starter isn't bubbling much as it was on day 2. She's on day 4. Anything she should do?
Just watch it, Kitty. Sometimes it may need more feeding, so you might want to check that and see if you need to feed it more.
Is it pretty ripe? It smells fine to me.
It just didn't rise. It just is terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty thick.
Show the inside of it.
It's pretty dense.
But it does have air bubbles, though. I'm kind of impressed with the air bubbles. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, it's dense. I'm
this
squeezing it.
Bag is heavy.
The bag is heavy. So I would like this for breakfast, probably.
Redhead Homestead, he calls those biscuits. Oh, you're taking a big bite.
Mm-hmm. It's got a good flavor.
Good.
It's a little dry. I don't know if dry is not the right word, because it almost does have...
I mean, heck, it's old, though.
What's this green stuff?
It's not
I'm kidding.
old.
There's no green stuff.
You took a big bite of that. You have a hard time swallowing it.
It's good. I'm going to tell you. All right, here we go. This is real. I like the flavor. It has... Can you explain to me why it has almost a mayonnaise flavor to it?
Smells like mayonnaise to me.
It smells like mayonnaise. I love mayonnaise.
Yeah. He'll eat it.
I'll eat that.
Okay, here's a question from Jan. Is it okay to use bread flour to make the loaf, or is that overkill? No, that's perfectly fine to use bread flour. Aunt Dossie used bread flour, the lady that I learned how to make the bread from. That's what she used, and she swore by it. Actually, the flour that I was using, that I was none too impressed with making my starter, it was bread flour. And I really thought I had picked up the wrong flour, and I got to looking at it after the series was over, and I saw how terrible the bread did, and it is bread flour. So, I guess I did this after the series was over, but I realizing how nice and soured my einkorn starter was, I went ahead and made me a new white starter for the farmer's market, because I realized that the one I had been using and that I had been putting the bread flour in, it just wasn't soured like the einkorn flour. So I took some einkorn starter and I mixed it in with my new white flour. I bought some Pillsbury flour, and I made me a new white starter with a little einkorn starter in it to get it going with some yeast, and I was much more pleased with my bread for the market. So it was my last market which was Friday, and so I was able to finish with some beautiful loaves of bread. So, okay, excuse me. She also asked, do you discard the excess starter before or after you feed it? I would say before you feed it, I would discard any extra, because that's the problem. When you get such a large volume of starter, say you're dealing with a whole quart of starter, and you're only feeding it like a half a cup, which I guess that would be enough to feed a quart, but it's going to eat up what you feed it so fast. And so that's why you want to discard a little bit of it, and where you won't have to feed it as often, and your starter won't grow so big before you're ready to use it, before it's soured enough, before it's active enough. So, and she said if you're giving it to someone else, I assume you give it dormant from the fridge so it doesn't die, but how much can you give? Well, it just depends on, you don't want to deplete your starter. I'm sorry, I keep touching the table. You can tell I use my hands to talk. So
yeah, let me just say something about that. We got to figure out a better arrangement for our microphone. You see, every now and then I pick up this thing and put it in my ear and I'm listening, and it dawned on me that every time we touch the table, you hear boom, boom. I know you're probably listening, can hear all kind of noise, but here's our microphone, and it's just sitting on the table, and so every time we even brush the table, it sounds like, a cave troll has hit the door or something.
And that would be me. I'm
no,
sorry.
No, my wife is not a cave troll.
Well, no, that's me. No, that's me making the noise.
But we're gonna have to get a mic thing, that is suspended up in the air, so it's not touching anything.
I didn't realize that's what I was doing. I thought I was shaking the camera when I would touch the table. I thought that's why you kept touching my hands. Anyway, so you wouldn't want to deplete your starter. I think I said this a while ago. Any less than like a half a cup to a cup. When you're feeding it, because then you're going to have to go through the souring stage again. The idea of keeping some is that it's already soured, and it's going to make what you feed it soured too, for you to be able to use it. So, and I mean, you'd want to give your friends like about a cup of starter, and it would be good if you took that cup away, put it in the refrigerator, let it get cold, because you're going to want to transport it or give it to them. Well, you could do it in a Ziploc bag, but you don't want it to start getting active and get warm while it's in transport, because it does build up the gases. You're not supposed to put a tight lid on it, unless it's in the refrigerator. So just remember that when you're sharing your starter with people. All right, here is somebody that says that they had used einkorn wheat the einkorn wheat to make the sourdough bread and was not pleased with the results. So the starter was bubbly and had a good smell, and the dough rose really good. And when she put it in the pans to rise, it did not rise very much. She's doing a new starter with bread flour.
That's Roy and Faye, by the way.
Yeah, Roy and Faye. Anyway, I have noticed that with the einkorn flour too, and I honestly was wondering if maybe just try doing a one rise, because I was very pleased at how much the einkorn flour rose the first time. The second time, I let it sit for 7 hours, and I was pleased with the rising that I got from it, judging by what I've seen in the past. So, but I know not everybody has 7 hours to wait for it to rise. But I was just wondering what would happen if you baked it on the first rise, because it does get so nice and fluffy. But of course, that's usually a 12-hour rise overnight too. So, you could do an experiment with that. But from my experience with dealing with whole wheat flours, not white flour, not flour with the bran removed, that's brown flour, that it does not rise as well as white flour. And one thing that you could do is, if you can eat white flour, is to mix the two, and see how that goes for you. But no, the einkorn flour, I was hoping it'd be a little different because it's not so dark, but it doesn't rise like white flour does. And plus, you're dealing what?
You caught yourself. That's great.
I'm being careful.
Every time she's got these sheet of questions, and every time she puts one to the back, she takes the paper and goes boom on the table.
I do.
And that time she put them all back there, and she went and caught herself and didn't do it.
Did on my leg. So, okay, now here is, all right, Tommy, how do you, let's see. This is from Sherry and Arthur.
Yep. Oh, I'm glad Sherry and Arthur, this is a comment that came on one of the videos, and we've also had it asked here. Ava Kinsey. By the way, Ava, let me know that if you got your cookbook. But Ava Kinsey's asked the same thing. Patti, how did the einkorn wheat bread treat your stomach?
Yeah, that's what Sherry and Arthur was asking too. So she's got an aunt that she would like to suggest it to. Well, I was kind of a glutton for gluten that day. For the camera, I broke a roll open of the einkorn and showed y'all the inside of it and everything and how nice it was. Well, what I didn't show is when I got through and when I was doing something else, while I was baking the other bread, I buttered that roll up quite quick and ate it, and it was so good. Well, I could feel a little something in my stomach. No big deal, you know. I probably hadn't eaten anything that day or something, but anyway, what I was really waiting for was to have a tomato sandwich on those rolls. And so that was the next thing that I did once I got through baking the other loaves of bread and the rolls had cooled off. I cut 2 open and put me some mayonnaise and put me some tomato on there, and I sat down to eat them. And I got one down, and boy, my stomach was hurting. It felt like it just got full of air all of a sudden in my stomach. And I was bound and determined, and I sat there and I ate the second one too. And I went and I had to go get in the recliner all afternoon. I had a stomach ache. So, you know, had I just eat the one, I'd have probably been okay.
Yeah, so we don't know if it was the gluten or the gluttony.
The glutton.
The gluttony that caused the problem.
No, I mean, they're small. No, it was just like eating a sandwich or a sandwich and a half. You know, it wasn't that. It was the bread. But anyway, the next day I had some hamburger patties made out of our pork. And they had kind of turned out a little small. And I ate a hamburger on one. And I could feel my stomach. I did not have near the reaction I did the day before because I only ate one. I was good. But I could still feel the difference. And I had, 2 or 3 days. I woke up one time. They say wheat is can cause inflammation. And I woke up one night, like from here up, and my hands just really swollen and hurting. Not extreme, but it happened. And I just had like 2 or 3 days where I just didn't feel real good. And when I had eaten some bread before, made with the einkorn, that's the way I felt. I just didn't really feel good. I didn't feel awful, but I didn't feel good. And with the stomach issues, I'd be real careful. So, I'll probably still, I've got my starter in the refrigerator, and I'll still make some bread occasionally when I just get so hungry, where I want a hamburger with a bun. I'll probably do it, but I'm going to continue to experiment with my gluten-free.
I allow her to eat other things. I don't think she meant when she'll bake when she gets hungry enough. She means when she has a craving enough.
Yeah, when I want the bread so bad. So anyway, is there any more on here?
There's a couple. I did see just a quick shout out. I did see on that same page a comment from our faithful viewer C. Manina that I cannot still reply to on the comments thread. So if you're watching this, I posted a video for you today where based on another viewer, Therese Phelps, who I also couldn't reply to, she figured it out. Mm-hmm. And so I posted a video for you, C. Manina, explaining what she said she did. So I'm curious to see if it works. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just the kind comments and the appreciation y'all have shown has just been overwhelming. And I just really, really appreciate that. The confirmation, the affirmation that y'all have given that we've done something good and we've done something helpful. And we're glad. That's what we wanted to do.
This must be kind of how Justin Bieber feels, I hope not. All right, let's see. Family Roots Farm asks, what are the measurements for feeding it when you switch to a larger jar?
Well, if I were to go past a quart for sure, and see, we we were doing a fourth of a cup and we never got out of the quart jar. A fourth of flour, fourth of water, and eighth of sugar. And so, I remember the last feeding I did on the einkorn, my bubbles got to the top. It was time to move to a bigger jar. And honestly, when you probably get to like 3/4 of the way into your quart jar, you probably ought to switch over to half a cup feedings. Half a cup flour, half a cup water, fourth of a cup sugar. Unless you wanted to go to 2-a-day feedings. You know, you could always stay with the smaller feedings and feed it more often. I would rather just do it once a day. The normal feeding is a cup of flour, cup of water, half a cup of sugar. But you kind of watch your starter and you see how when it works itself out, when it quits growing, you can tell that it needs more feeding. With mine, I don't have it in the big jar now. I went ahead and reduced from my farmer's market, my white one. I've put it down into a quart jar, but I'll have a half a gallon of starter going because I'll need about a half a gallon to make bread. And so that half a gallon, I'll feed 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of water, and what would that be? A cup of sugar, you know, to keep that good and active. So, you know, it depends, you know, on your volume and just kind of gauge it. You could overfeed it, like if you just had a little half a cup of starter and you put a cup of flour, a cup of water, and, you know, you're going to overwhelm it and you're going to take the sourness away and stuff like that. So, you know, just kind of play with it, really.
How did the tortilla bread come out?
I was pleased with it, except that I won't let it rise like that again. I might let it rise a little bit, but I won't let it rise like I did the bread, because what happened, and I didn't cover it, which I don't cover my bread when it rises, but I didn't cover it, and I found it dried out really quick, like around the edges, even after I put it in the paper bag, that they were kind of crunchy around the edges. So I won't do it just like that again. I'll make it...
I'm moving the mic. People are saying it's not loud enough.
It's not me. I'll try and talk up.
I'm looking at the gauges. The monitors don't look right, and it's, again, go back to what I said at the very beginning. It's something about I've just messed up with the settings, so I hope that's better.
And another thing, I would be curious to know if people are interested in learning more about gluten-free bread too.
Yeah, I ate it. And I enjoyed it. I told you I liked it. I ate it. They're laughing at me for Deep South said it must be good. Tommy's eating it right there on camera. Yeah, I ate every crumb too.
He ate it with no butter or anything.
There ain't no ants around here, pal. They'd be going hungry. Let's see, guys. If we miss something, everybody is just so full of commentary. If we miss something, email us. You can email us at Tommy or Patti. That's Patti with an I. At AldermanFarms.net. Let's see, and Wheat Tree Bonsai is just a guru. I need to make Wheat Tree. I can't do it on my iPad, but I need to make you a moderator along with Deep South, because you are just rocking it, reminding everybody to repeat their questions. My goodness, Patti, have you tried rye flour?
From my research, rye has gluten in it, because I like pumpernickel, and I think pumpernickel has rye in it, and I haven't tried it since I went gluten-free.
All right,
but I like it, but I don't know that I wouldn't want that bread all the time either. That taste.
Last question, and then we're going to move on, because we only wanted to do about 15 minutes of this, but we've done a half an hour. But it's okay; it's good stuff. We want to do what you want us to do to a certain degree. We want to get what we want to say too. But and now I've lost it. Hang on. Oh, give me a second. They're just pumping them out. Kitty says, can you just do a 1/4 cup of everything, including the sugar, to feed it?
I don't see why not. You're going to make a sweeter bread because you're going to do a sweeter starter. But, Kitty, I mean, it's not an exact science. You know, use your 1/4 cup of flour. Just gauge it, eyeball it, and get half of that, and put your sugar, and then fill that 1/4 cup up of water and dump it in. If you want it eased like that, just.
I say play with it. It's not.
I really don't think it's going to hurt it.
Yeah, it's not.
It's going to be sweeter.
Right. Feel free to mess around with them. The worst thing that happen, you throw something away if it's just horrible,
Right.
or give it to the dogs. So,
Somebody said that theirs flopped and they gave it to the dog. So
yeah. We are gonna do a video series on the cinnamon rolls, live
we have to
thing.
do that.
We're gonna do that. Our schedule's a little messed up for the next couple of weeks. So we can't commit to a daily live series, which cinnamon rolls would only take a couple of days anyway.
Yeah,
right?
well, because I really want to show y'all how I do it. It can be done in a day. No big deal. You do use yeast with them. I guess you could not use the yeast if you didn't want to. But the way I do my cinnamon rolls is I make them up and I freeze them, and then I take them out of the freezer at 9 o'clock at night. I let them rise all night, and I bake them in the morning. So that's why it'll be a 2-day series with us, because I really want you to see the difference in them on the video. I have done them to where I just rose them and baked them that day, and they just do not get huge when you let them rise overnight like that. It's something about freezing them and then thawed out, and
We'll do it as soon as we can, because Patty's like every day, all day. She's like, I'm ready to go live again. I've got to be live with my people.
Oh, you're so full of bull.
No, she's not really, but she did a great job, I think. And she's becoming a natural in front of the camera. So if we didn't get your bread question, I don't think we missed any, but email us again at bread@aldermanfarms.net, or comment on this video when it's published to YouTube. We were so pleased. If you probably are aware that a couple of 3 weeks ago, actually it was 3 weeks ago to the day, yesterday, that video didn't start where I wanted it to. Let me try this again. Well, I don't know why it's doing that, but anyway, our turkey our midget white turkey that had its leg broken, stepped on by a pig or a goat in the barn, and I know, but
I'm asking, is that what's on there?
This is what's, excuse me, a little behind the scenes stuff. This is what's live right here. This is the preview, and now it's starting over. That's where I wanted it to. So if you've been watching no, I'm kidding. But so we put a kind of a crude video up about how we managed that, and you just saw in the video right there, and this is just a clip. This video in full is also on the YouTube channel with vet wrap and actually paper towel, masking tape, popsicle sticks, not popsicle sticks, but craft sticks. As a splint, and we put her in a cage and had her isolated and it was 3 weeks to the day yesterday, and we took her out and she's fine. It healed up. There was no floppiness in the leg. It was very firm, and so we were extremely pleased with that. She was a little bit wobbly.
Yeah, it was like balance, but that cage she was in wasn't totally flat, and she was used to having to use her wings to balance herself a little bit, and then with the leg being hurt too.
It was an old brooder, homemade brooder pen up off the ground with what do you call it, hardware cloth in the bottom, and so
it just weren't the one that it was stable, but it didn't feel stable to her.
Yeah, so. And so I checked on her this morning, and she's doing fine. And the great thing is we had expanded the area in the garden where the Delawares and the midget whites could be, so they weren't in a tight quarters anymore. Yeah. And our big fear was, will they accept her back?
Yeah, because they pick on one that's sick or weak or something like that, so.
Yeah. So and it was like she was invisible. They never even looked. So that was a huge yay. I wish I had an applause track. I need to figure out how to get an applause track. That'd be great. An applause track and a rim shot. But we'll figure that out. Let's see. Okay, Patti wanted to, and let me go ahead and say this at the beginning because we've got less than 30 minutes left. If you've got questions that we don't cover about the farmer's market in this next 25 minutes or so, you can send those to us at any of these. If you put any word in front of @aldermanfarms.net, it'll get to us. So question, info, Don't put nothing ugly, because I'll make it go to the spam folder. But if we don't cover it, and you've got questions about how to get started at your local farmers market, how to start a local farmers market, you can send those to us. And if we get enough questions, we'll do another show talking about those specifics.
Yeah, we've just had a few viewers ask a few questions about, the farmers market and everything and what we do and stuff like that. And I am the market manager now of our farmers market, and so I've learned a little bit about the workings of it and everything. And I did start going to the market the first year it opened. I missed the first market, I believe, but I was there at either the second or the third market. I got involved with it and everything, and I ended up being the secretary for the market. And I was the secretary, I guess I'm still the secretary, actually. I don't know, because we haven't voted a new secretary in.
Secretary and the manager.
Yeah, and so
she's like a dictator.
I actually helped with as the market manager a few years ago, because the market manager actually had some heart problems, and so then this past year he decided that he would resign, and so this is my first year as an acting market manager. But I started going to the market. That's some beautiful flowers that was at the market.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Oh, okay. Sorry.
There they are.
There they are. But anyway, I have a few of our slides. This is the master gardeners that come to the market. They sell plants very cheaply, and that's just that they help people out and fill up space and everything. This is just some different ideas. You'll see things that's not necessarily garden related. This is our table right there that's up there. I forgot to add cinnamon rolls to the list. But there's a variety of things that you can do at the market before you have vegetables, or even if you don't intend on bringing vegetables. I started with the bread. I started with a 4-foot card table, and now I'll end up with 2 8-foot tables full of breads and different vegetables that we have that I can bring. I don't always have vegetables, but I always have bread. And so I do my sourdough bread, and I do cinnamon sourdough, regular sourdough rolls. I do French bread, which we're going to do a video on the French bread. I also do dip mixes, which is something that is unique that no one else does at our market. And I do 3 different dip mixes. One is Fiesta, one is Ranch, and one is bacon. And bacon by far is our best seller.
How could you forget bacon?
But anyway, so that's just some of the things that I do. And I also sell our eggs. Selling eggs is relatively easy at our market. You do have to have some certifications and everything, but it's very possible. And you got to follow the rules. We have rules and regulations. We're a certified market, so we have our own rules. Plus, we have to go by the certified market rules.
Funny story about eggs. When we first started trying to sell eggs, one of our problems, and we may have mentioned this before, one of our problems in pricing our products is we kind of have this mental barrier over what we would pay, and so, and we just can't get our heads wrapped around the fact that people are willing to pay for quality. We're getting better at that.
Well, and it's not that we want to charge out the ceiling.
No.
I want to be able to make money. I'm not doing it for the fun of it. I want to be able to make a profit, but I want to be reasonably priced too. I want to pay for my feed. My chickens are paying their way now, but we're making $4 a dozen, which I know some of you people will say, "Oh my gosh, that's so cheap."
Yeah.
I had a hard time getting $2.50 a dozen.
That's what I was going to say. We started at $2.50 and we couldn't sell any. We would sell 1 or 2 here or there.
Yeah.
And now at $4, we don't have enough chickens.
Yeah.
We always sell out of our eggs.
Yeah, and the heat has really affected them, and the dryness, I think, this summer, and so I didn't sell any last week or the week before, but I've promised my customers we do keep a ongoing email list that I will email them when we start getting our eggs again.
Yes, Jan, she does put icing on her cinnamon rolls for the market.
Yes, I do. It's just powdered sugar, and we need to get the ingredient list out for that cinnamon rolls.
Well, when we do the thing.
Well, we're just a week out from it. Probably we can get it done, or 2,
maybe
okay.
2. Yeah.
But anyway, I also make Aunt Dossie's egg custards, and I do brownies for the market too. I also will do croutons. That's a nice thing about if you do have the bread left over. Somebody that said that their bread didn't turn out great, that they were going to make croutons, highly seasoned croutons. Oh, the one, who was it that forgot the salt? Callie, I think. Anyway, she's going to make very well seasoned croutons. And see, that's the beauty of bringing the breads, is that I can do croutons with it and bring it back to the market. If the croutons don't sell, I can put it in the freezer and feed it to my family. And I do give it away a lot too, just as little gifts or whatever. But this year, honestly, I've kind of gotten it figured out of how much to make for the market, so I typically don't have bread left over. I think 1 or 2 markets I had a few loaves left, and my mom's in the nursing home right now, and I brought it up there and blessed them with some bread. So that's what I do there.
Mother of many horses, I get what you're saying about, she said $4 a dozen would be too much for her to pay. I get that, and it depends on where you are, because we went to, when was that, 2 years ago or 3 now? That
2.
We went, 2 years ago, we went to Portland to visit our oldest son, and went to their one of their huge farmers markets. They were $7 a dozen there. That we saw them as cheap as $6, but
in Baton Rouge, they're $6 or $7 a dozen. That's 2 hours from here.
In Jackson, I think they're getting 5 or more.
Yeah, and that's just that's not that far.
So it's all about where you're located.
Well, and it's about education too with your customers, and knowing what they're getting. If I can't get $4 a dozen for my eggs, it's not worth it to me to sell eggs. I'm not making $1 a dozen on my eggs. My chickens are paying for their feed. And I've got to consider the labor and the time and everything we put into it. So I'll just grow eggs for me, and that was my decision with bringing the vegetables to the market. I'm going to charge what I charge. If you want to buy it, that's good, and that's fine. But if not, my daughters would like to have it, or it can go in my freezer.
We'll eat it.
Because it's got value to it to me, and if it doesn't have that value to you, that's fine. If you can go home and grow it, it doesn't have. You're not going to want to pay me for it. But people that can't grow it and want a quality organic vegetable, they're more willing to pay it. So.
Wait a minute. Hey, Mandy. From Clinton.
Oh, hey, Mandy.
Hey, Mandy.
Yeah, we still haven't been fishing there, but we're going. That's the one, huh?
No, that's from Byram.
Oh,
but
sorry, Mandy. I've never met y'all all, so y'all kind of confuse everybody.
Yeah, never mind.
Sorry.
She wanted to know what time the market opened Friday. Well, bad news. It's over.
Come Tuesday. It's open 3 to 6. That's our last market for the year. Well, I say that. We're going to have a Thanksgiving market the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And if the farmers were to plant, enough stuff for the fall, we would have a fall market, but I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, we will be open from 3 to 6 in the Amtrak station. In
the aero conditioning.
Yes, air conditioning. So, some other ideas, I don't know that I had any, Tommy had any on the clips, but, a lot of people grow herbs and everything, and that's something that's not brought to the market much. I've had good success in my herbs. In fact, early on, I was selling dill and parsley. I sold a lot of basil last year. That's not going to be enough to keep you at the market, but it's enough to add a little extra to it, and more and more people are using herbs.
One of the things I can't figure out with this is how to make that lower third thing only be there when I want it to be there. So just ignore it. It's too much trouble to delete it and then go add it again. So I'm just going to leave it while this clip plays.
Anyway, another thing that people do is canned vegetables, and they charge a lot for them, and it's worth it because I still haven't figured it's worth it to me to do it and bring it to the market and sell it. I keep it off what I can, but they're charging $6 and $7 for a pint of vegetables and jelly and stuff like that. So, if you have the time to be able to do it, and I'm going to tell you this, there's a widow lady that comes to our market that she's very sweet. Well, we have 3 different vendors that do canned food, and they obviously are doing well with it, or they wouldn't keep coming. But this lady that's a widow, you have vegetables left over from the market sometimes, and you just can't help it, and especially when the tomatoes are really coming in strong and people have had their fill of tomatoes. Well, people will bless her with boxes of vegetables and everything, and so, that's a benefit to her. And, we all have relationships at the market, and I come I come home with more stuff than I bring sometimes because I'll trade it or I'll buy it, and it's just like a family at the market, and it's just a great atmosphere. Another idea for getting started at the market is you could buy fresh vegetables and dehydrate them and bring dehydrated vegetables, because that would be a value-added item. We have a cookie lady this year that has done very well. She just brings cookies, and she has, I think, like 2 or 3 different kind of cookies, and I didn't know how well she was going to do because she don't have a huge variety. But she makes good cookies, and she gives samples, and samples is a key to getting people to buy your products at the market. That's one thing I do is I give samples with our dip mix that I make. I always make up some dip mix and I bring it. And I say always, I don't always. Sometimes I just don't get around to it, or I forget it, or I don't have my pretzels to dip or whatever. And I don't sell as many dips mixes as I do when I have my samples out, because people like to taste it. They like to see that it's good.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important. Another thing we've done this year, we've had live music before, and I just thought about it as Tommy and I was talking about this program, is that, I said I want to mention Ralph, this man that he called, he got in touch with Rebecca, the county extension agent. She's the one that actually started the farmers market. And wanting to know what he had to do to be able to come to the farmers market to play. And, Rebecca, was like, well, we really don't have the money budgeted in this year to be able to pay anybody. He's like, oh, no, it's not for pay. I want to, I just want to come. And so he was like, well, sure. And I'm going to tell you what, he has just got the best voice, and he is just so sweet. And he came the market before last, and we just thanked him so much, and he got a couple of gigs out of it, and he put out his little tip bucket. I don't know, I didn't ask him how much he made, but I told Tommy, I said, that's like a vendor in itself.
Sure.
He is. And so he showed interest in wanting to come back to the market, and we're like, I was like, yes, please come back.
And he's very, very good.
Yes, he is excellent. He is a professional.
Yeah, he's a professional.
Anyway, so he came back to the market this past Friday, and I had one of my customers text me and say, is the music man back? And I was like, yes. She goes, I'm bringing the crew. And so she came and stayed. I'm talking about Patti. She came and stayed for hours with her husband, to
just
listening and shopping around and everything. So it creates a great atmosphere. And
he said it's rare for so the message is if you play.
Yeah.
Go to your farmer's market and offer to set up.
Volunteer, yeah.
Because he said, and you may have said this because I was thinking about something, so forgive me if it's a repeat, but he said rarely does he go to a farmer's market and play that he doesn't pick up a paid gig as a result of it.
Well, he picked up 2 the first Friday, and I didn't ask him about last Friday, but I know he did really good in tips.
So 2 people took his card at least last Friday.
That's right. So, I mean, and I was talking to Rebecca, our extension agent, and we were talking about, we're going to have Ralph back next year, of course, but we're talking about maybe trying to spotlight some of our local talent. And, and hopefully that will bring different people to our market also that they may be coming to see them, because that's one thing that we need to increase our customer base. We need to grow. We need to grow vendor wise and customer wise. So anyway, so that's just different things we're looking at. Also, you have to check with your rules and regulations. We've mentioned before that we cannot bring our pastured pork to the market because we do not have a refrigerated vehicle. But we do have someone that does bring pork and beef to the market legally. She has, the right way to transport and everything. We also have T&R Dairy that brings cheese and milk to the market. So there's a wide variety of things that are at our market, and it just the dairy brings customers. The vegetable people bring customers. So it's like we're all working together. So it's really
the dairy vendor. Sometimes we have more than one, but a lot of times their regular customers will come pick up from them at the market,
Right.
which is huge because
They're going to shop for other stuff.
while they're there, they pick
Yeah.
up other things. So,
And honestly, with our way we did our email list, I was able to go talk with the garden club this year before the season ever started. And it was just a huge blessing to get to go there. It helped us grow our email list. And some of the people that were there were not regulars at the farmers market, and we picked up a few new customers just from me going to speak at the garden club and them starting to buy stuff from us, getting on our email list. And also, there's just different ways to grow your customer base, and that's how we have grown our customer base, especially from the market, from the farmers market itself. I've made very good friends too from people at the farmers market.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Just people that are just
We do reuse
important to us.
we do reuse our egg cartons when obviously every now and then you're going to get one that's yucky or after it's been used recycled so many
I just threw one
times.
away that was torn, and sometimes people, when they crack their eggs and put it in the skillet, they put their shell back in the egg carton. Well, that drips on there, and you can't get that out.
Can't get it out. It's like
Ours
NASA
is
needs
like-
to use that for like gluing the space shuttle together because
ours is like the cardboard kind, that disintegrates or whatever. It's not the styrofoam, so there's no wiping it clean. So
we have to have, we're limited on our options because there's certain information that's required to be on the egg carton.
Right.
That's like FDA stuff. And then, but then there's other things that our information also has to be on the carton. So we can't use styrofoam because it doesn't stamp well, and so forth and so on.
From what I understand, there is a stamp that they make for the styrofoam or whatever. But I like the kind that we use.
Yeah, and we somebody mentioned that at their farmers market, their egg vendors will give like 25 cents off a dozen if somebody brings back the egg carton.
Yeah.
But our customers are pretty good about giving them, aren't they?
No, they don't bring them back 100%. They probably bring them back better if I did give the 25 cents off. So.
Yeah, that's right. It said don't forget the social media, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yeah.
That's how we've spread the word, and we are Alderman Farms everywhere. We're Alderman Farms on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So
is he talking about the farmers market or is he talking about us or both?
well, I don't know.
about
It's
both.
just Patti.
Yeah.
Don't forget the media of YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yeah. I think he was talking about us because talking about growing our customer base. Yeah, and Tommy's in charge of all of that. He'll say, "You have YouTube questions you have to answer."
Yeah.
So I go get on because he gets notified when we get stuff and I don't.
Yeah.
But another thing is our farmers market this year. Our opening day, I did better. We have Dairy Day the second Friday. That the market is open. It's always huge. That's our biggest market that we have. Well, this year, opening day was just as big for me, and I think for some of the other farmers too, because we started with social media a few months out. Just not a daily thing, but I spotlighted a farmer. I went to his farm, showed pictures of his vegetables growing. I had intentions of going to, the regular farmers, going to all of their farms and doing it. I did not get, with me trying to get my garden in and everything else, I didn't get around to it, but I do intend on doing that, and I think it was Facebook that made
absolutely.
opening day so huge.
Family Roots Farm, how do you find out your regulations? I would start with your county agent.
Yeah.
County agent will, depending on the quality of your county agent, he or she may have all the answers, but if they don't, I can almost guarantee they will know
what direction,
to whom they can send you.
Yeah, and see, the certified market that we have is a state thing, and you might actually could get on, like if you live in Mississippi, type in, I know you could in Mississippi, but type in certified farmers market in Mississippi. You might could do that in Georgia or Texas or wherever, and maybe get some information on the internet like that too.
Right, and in Deep South makes another good recommendation to look up cottage laws for your state.
Yeah.
So again, you could type in Georgia cottage laws. I know for a fact Georgia has them because they were ahead of us.
Yeah, they were ahead of us, and Margie was baking in her kitchen.
Yeah, so go ahead.
I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say.
Yep, 10-minute warning. It's probably not, no, 6-minute warning now to Big Family Homestead.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Don't forget, we're not on an island here. We're part of the Homestead Network.
Right.
And you need to go to the homesteadnetwork.com, and there's actually a channel lineup that shows you who's on air and what
Yep.
time they're on air and so forth. So make sure you go over to Brad and Krista's channel at Big Family Homestead here in about 6 minutes or 5 minutes. Right now, I don't know. Never mind. We'll figure that out later. Okay. What else, Patti?
I just want to encourage you, if you don't if you don't have any desire to be a vendor at the farmers market, that is fine. It's been an extra income. We pay for all the feed and into the winter some with our farmers market. We get extra things because of the farmers market. We're going to be buying some more of the fencing we like. So, it's not something that actually we make money at as far as like for me and Tommy or our house, but it does help our farm out. We reinvest it back into our farm. And also, if you don't have any desire, attend your farmers market. Even if you don't buy a whole lot, it's a community thing, and it's just a great time, and you'll get to meet other people that are similar to you at the farmers market.
Let's see. Norma Mason wanted to know if our farmers market include vendors who bring homespun, crocheted, or knitted items.
Okay. We don't allow that. We originally wanted to have stuff like that.
Crafts.
Truly homemade stuff. But we started getting into stuff that was more flea market-y type stuff, and we just...
Nothing wrong with flea markets.
No, nothing wrong with flea markets, but we wanted to stay to a true farmer's market, and so that's why, there's no kind of crafts or anything allowed at our markets now.
And that's a tension that the board goes through every year, because we understand that could be a benefit to it, because the people who come to that for those type things might also want to buy a loaf of bread or whatever.
Right.
But the difficulty is wanting to, putting in safeguards to where it truly is.
And more of an artesian type thing.
Type stuff, yeah.
Not a talent. Not buying this kit. Somebody had bought a kit and did melt and pour soap. There's nothing wrong with melt and pour soap. If that's what you want to make, that's fine. But that's not really a homemade thing.
But check with your market, because lots of markets in Mississippi.
Yeah, the Jackson Farmers Market allows that. They kind of have a separate area for it. I think it's every weekend. The Baton Rouge Farmers Market in Louisiana has arts and crafts once a month. And I had kind of thrown around that idea. I think that would be, not a bad thing to do. But, right now we don't do it at all.
Yeah. Okay, the final comment will be thanks again, Deep South, for we do accept credit and debit at our booth at the market.
Yeah.
We use Square, squareup.com. You may have seen the commercials, and there are all kind of options that you can use with your iPad or your iPhone to accept debit and credit. We've actually, I don't think we had a chance to use it this year. We've got the new device that will actually accept Apple Pay, and also will read a credit card with a chip in it.
Yeah.
And we're also the market is the market EBT equipped?
Not yet, but we're talking about doing that. We're just not sure, because there's a lot of exchange of money and stuff like that's going to have to go on. So I really don't know how that's going to work on. That's something we have our meetings about the market throughout when it's not the growing season. So we'll have a meeting to check and talk about how things went and how things were, what we can do to improve. And then Rebecca Bates, our extension agent, she'll have educational meetings for the farmers and for whoever wants to come during the year, and we'll have our little meetings, during that time. So.
Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for the great, kind comments. People saying, telling us they enjoy the show. It still just blows us away that anybody could give a flip about what we have to say. And we love you guys. It's just this is so fun, and it's really enjoyable. Yeah. And so y'all go ahead and jump off and head over to Brad and Krista's, because it's going to take me another hour and a half to figure out which stop button to push first.
To really turn us off this time.
Yeah, to really turn it off, and to make sure I don't turn it off before we say goodbye.
Bye. Y'all have a good night.